my god, we've had the Switch 2s for almost a week at this point, and we have to talk about our impressions, as all three of us have been playing in entirely different ways. Don's been doing a lot of backwards compatibility and game sharing. Nick was on vacation and played exclusively handheld, I believe, for a while. Myself, I'm the opposite. I'm a homebuddy, and I played exclusively on docked. So I want to talk about all of our impressions of pros or cons, what we think of and Joy-Cons, of course, you know, what we think of the Switch 2 in general, and yeah, let's just get right to it. And I want to start off with a big question, guys. 1 to 10, what would you rate your Switch 2 experience so far in more of a hardware, you know, sense? So we're kind of ignoring the games right now. Obviously, this is not, you know, a concrete number. It can change in time. I just want to get your raw overall impression. Don, what do you think of the Switch 2 so far? 1 to 10, and then quick explanation.
I would say an 8.
8? Okay, that's pretty good. So you're happy with it?
I'm pretty happy. I mean, the OS is a bit uninteresting because they didn't really change much. There are some small hiccups I have with the system and how it's handled, but overall, I've been pretty happy with it.
All right. How about you, Nick? What would you give it?
I am going to give it a 7, and there was like 2 reasons, but I'll pick those up later in the video. Obviously, like you said, I was playing a lot of handheld over the weekend on my trip. But yeah, and I think that was one of the issues is with the battery. But I'll get into those 2 a little bit later.
I know you're not alone in the battery issue because I've seen a lot of Reddit complaints about that. So myself, I'm going to cheat. It's my discussion. I can do what I want. I'm going to give 2 different numbers. Objectively, taking the Switch for what it is, you know, or the Switch 2 for what it is, it's basically like a super premium version of the Switch, right? They enhanced it in almost every way imaginable, and going off of that, I would give it a 9. I think they pretty much nailed it across the board for what a Switch should be. I have very few complaints with what the system actually is, given the form factor that they went with, which is an iteration of the Switch. On the other hand, personally speaking, as an oldie here, has been through literally every Nintendo system launch since the dawn of time, I would say I'd give it probably a 7, just because it's not all that different, you know, like they are doing some cool things here. I love the mouse support. There hasn't been a lot of first-party showcase for that yet, for instance, but you know, there is something about the system that feels much more iterative than almost any other Nintendo console before. It's actually probably closer to the handheld line, but even then, those became increasingly innovative, like with the DS and then the 3DS, you know, and then climaxing with the Switch, of course, and now the Switch 2 feels like kind of like almost like the Game Boy Color, if you will, a little bit more. That kind of undersells it. Maybe like the Game Boy Advance, I should say, to the Game Boy. So yeah, overall, I think for what it is, it's a great system. Now, let's get into our specific pros and cons. But first, let's quickly discuss today's sponsor, being JSOX, who sent us a ton of accessories to enhance and protect your Nintendo Switch 2. Let's check them out. And when it comes to your Switch 2, they have something for everyone at affordable prices. Like this well-protected carrying case, with room for up to 15 games and other accessories. Or, if you want something a little smaller and more colorful, why not try their colorful ultra-thin carrying case? There is also this shock-absorbent storage case with room for up to 10 games. Though, if you need room for even more, why not consider the Game Card Case 40, which, as you probably guessed, can hold up to 40 games. And I have to say, this one is super satisfying to open and close. I could do this all day. Now, if you want protection whenever you're actually using the Switch 2, JSOX has a couple of great options for you. First is a full cover case set, which individually protects the Switch 2 body itself, along with each of the Joy-Cons. Then we have this slick protective case, which wraps all the way around the entirety of the Switch 2. And you better believe they can hook you up with a screen protector too, with this one being anti-glare. Finally, if you're a huge Mario Kart fan like I am, you may want to check out the racing steering wheel for Switch 2. Or should I say steering wheels, as it comes with 2 of them, one for each Joy-Con. And I really have to say, it took me back to the good old days of Mario Kart Wii and its fun steering wheel. So as you can see, there clearly is something here for everyone. So if you want to pick up any of these yourself to enhance and protect your Switch 2, just click my link in the description below. And with that, let's get back to our Switch 2 discussion. Don, let's start with you. What is your first pro or con you have for us?
Yeah, let's talk about game share. I feel that's a bit of an underrated feature, but I've been playing it a bunch, especially with friends around me, but also online. A good number of game support, like including some first-party ones. I'm a big fan of Clubhouse, and I've mentioned it multiple times over that I played that game well over 100 hours.
Wow.
It's basically my most played multiplayer game. The fact that I can now basically game share both for game chat and locally in local sense without using an app, or online without them having to buy a copy of the game is so good. I mean, it's not perfect. Some games are simply not supported in that game, like all the tabletop versions of, say, soccer and golf. now golf is supported. Soccer and baseball are not supported, but all of the card games, all of the board games regularly, all of the 1v1 games, all of those are in the box, so you can play those with another person.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can just hop into game chat, then send an invite to those same people, they click on a button, they join you in the game, and you boot up the game, that's it. And there's something beautiful about that. And the fact that I can do that with also 3D World and some others, but also like the new Fast game, Fast Fusion.
Yeah.
And with Poi Poi Tetris, is like, those are the types of games I want to use GameShare for.
That's awesome. It feels like, actually, I mentioned the GBA. It actually feels like a throwback to the GBA and DS, where you could do that kind of game sharing type thing a little bit differently. But that's really cool. Only one copy of the game. And that's something I haven't even tried myself yet. And one of the cool things about it is it's backwards compatible with the Switch. People with the Switch 1s can join you in your Switch with your Switch 2 game sharing, which is awesome. So,
yeah,
good. Yeah, good.
Yeah,
pro.
one thing I want to check with that is that, so Split Fiction or sports game share.
Oh, does that work on Switch 1? Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see how that looks between Switch 1 and Switch 2. That will be very interesting.
That's a good one. Nick, what's your first pro or con for us?
I'm going to start off with a con, since Don just started off with the pro. But my con is this screen. And I'm not talking about like the resolution of the screen or anything. I'm like, I already got scratches on my screen, and I'm taking care of this thing so protective. I'm very protective with my electronics, especially with how expensive this thing is. But yeah, when I was over at the beach trip, I took it out of the dock and I looked into the sunlight with it. I'm like, wait a minute, is that a piece of hair or is it a scratch on it? I was like, oh my god, okay, I'll put this in the case right away. And as I was putting it in the case, I found more scratches. I'm like, what is going on? And there's something just minor. I don't have a screen protector on it yet. I'm gonna get one on once it comes into the mail. I'll put one on. But I'm just shocked at how much damage is on the screen already after this little amount of time. Because even my Switch 1 and my OLED, like I didn't have any issues with them. My original Switch, I didn't even have a screen protector on, and then my OLED, I put one on right away. But yeah, I'm just shocked after a week with it. It's like it's this scratched up.
I do want, they do have that thin layer on top of the Switch, I think, already, though you're not supposed to remove it, so it wouldn't really solve your issue. I wonder if that's a part getting scratched, or if it's actually the screen itself, which I assume is plastic again this time. Yeah, in any case, that is unfortunate. I know the Switch 1 had similar issues too, where the dock was scratching some people's screens initially. So let's go ahead and segue then into another possible pro/con for you, Nick. Aside from that, which does suck, how do you feel about the screen otherwise? Ignoring the scratches, how are you happy with the screen on the Switch 2? Is that pro or con for you?
It's a pro. When I booted this thing up right away, I started in handheld mode because that's how I did the transfer process. I'm like, oh my god, this thing is pretty to look at. Especially when I was playing Mario Kart and just driving around in handheld. I'm like, oh my god, this is a treat to play in handheld and look at. I didn't even do like a side-by-side comparison to my Switch 1 yet in handheld, but once I do, like I'll notice, I'll be like, oh my god, this is a major upgrade. So yeah, besides the scratches, like the actual resolution and how the screen looks, yeah, I am very, very happy with that.
It looks really good. Like, it's actually surprising even just how big it is. Like, I don't play handheld often, but every time I look at it, I'm like, geez, it's like a TV in my hand, basically. It's gigantic. Which might actually, maybe it will incentivize me to do more handheld in the future. Because that's the thing, I like playing on the TV experience. And actually, here's my pro then. My pro is that it looks awesome on the TV. Like having that, 4K visuals, even if it's not native in most cases. I know Mario Kart World's not running natively at 4K. In any case, it looks awesome. Playing this on my TV, it's sitting back, it looks fantastic. And I just love, seeing the image quality, whether on the, I guess either handheld or on the TV. So it's looking fantastic. So I guess my pro, I'm gonna expand it, is just the general horsepower in general. Like, I know there's something about this system that's just drawing out the worst in the fanboys on every platform, and some people are like, oh, you paid $500 for like a worse looking PS5 or Xbox. Oh, what really got people upset was when I showed off I sold my Series X, at GameStop. People were like, why would you do that? It's like, because I can't play Mario Kart on my Series X. I already have a PS5 that plays almost everything the Xbox can. So it's like, but we generally aren't playing Nintendo games for the top of the line power, and even if we were, or even if we, even if that were an element, it's like obviously a handheld can't support that anyway. It's like physically impossible within battery limits and size constraints and heating issues. It's not going to happen. For what the Switch 2 is, power-wise, I'm extremely happy with it. Like, loading in the Mario Kart world instantly, you get dropped right into that world. It looks beautiful. There's one segment where I was going through like a forest and I saw like lighting coming through the trees. And granted, it's not anything we haven't seen in like some, many of other games, but seeing it in a first-party game in Mario Kart no less, like, I'm like, that looks great. That looks really beautiful, So I'm happy with the horsepower in general and seeing it in 4K on, my TV in particular. So.
Yeah, you talk about the horsepower, and I loaded up Smash Bros. Shortly after, and one of my biggest complaints with Smash Ultimate on the Switch was the load time for the characters. Like, the skins, it didn't work. And I played the game over at E3 2018. I was like, this is just like an issue with this build. But when the game finally released, it takes like a second or two for the skins to load. But now it's instant.
Oh my god!
You switch them, there's no load time whatsoever. It's not like you have to guess what skin you're looking for. It's like, I move over to it. It's like, that's the skin I'm looking for. Yeah, it's perfect.
Sakurai was playing the long game. He knew there'd be a Switch 2 that could load that instantly. So
I also need to mention, like, the one major thing for me is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
Oh, because, yeah, you saw.
Oh my god!
You saw our. You've been playing it. Yeah, I did a comparison for it, showing how much better it was initially, and you've been playing it, and it's way smoother, right? Are there any hiccups at all, or?
So there are a few small dips, but those go to 55 FPS. Okay. It's almost incredible how smooth this game is compared to previous version. It's not a perfect game, mind you. Like, there's still some slight pop-in in some areas.
It's still a Game Freak game.
Yeah, but I think in general, like, it's really impressive how smooth that runs and performs.
Yeah,
like, especially in battles. Like, there were some struggles in battle, especially when you were transforming your Pokemon, and it now just runs, and I'm like, huh.
So we might be able to parse out a more specific pro here for you potentially. Would you say that the backwards compatibility in general is a pro for you here, like with how it's been running and everything?
Yes and no. I mean, it's not perfect because there are some games that don't work where I don't understand why I can't understand for the life of me why they don't work. A lot of the Activision games don't work on Switch 2.
Yeah.
And also randomly Marvel vs. Capcom, which came out not that long ago, you cannot buy on Switch 2. You cannot launch it on Switch 2, which is abstractly weird to me. On the other hand, there are a lot of games that are whitelisted.
Right.
And I think if you look at those for the majority, yes, even if they don't get an upgrade, they run a lot better. One of the worst performing games in the Switch's history, in my opinion, was WWE 2K18.
Yeah.
They did one version of that game and then never did it again because of how badly it performed on Switch 1. That game runs fully smooth now, and I cannot understand for the life of me how that is possible. It feels like magic.
That's amazing. Wow. That's great to hear. So,
yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's the cool thing about the Switch 2 is that you already have that instant library of almost every Switch 1 game available too, and with, bonuses in many cases, even if it wasn't officially patched or anything. Yeah. Nick, how about what's your next pro or con for us?
I got a pro, and I think you guys might be on board with this. It's these freaking Joy-Cons are amazing. I love them so much. Again, great. I was going back and forth between handheld and TV, and whenever I was in, even on both, I was doing this the entire time. It's just so addicting to do, and it works so well. I'm just like, it clicks in, it's so satisfying, it feels great to do. I'm happy they got that working on the Switch 2, because on the Switch 1, like, if you have like a case on yours or something, it can kind of get tough, like to put your finger on the back and take off the Joy-Con. But this makes so much sense. I'm like, I am so happy with this.
This feels like the future. Like, this feels like an Apple device. Like, this is amazing. It does. It's so good feeling. And
you know what it is to me? It's the release button. Every time I press that release button, it feels so nice.
It's so satisfying, right? Like, everything about that is perfect. Like, it really does. It's like the ultimate form of what the Switch was aiming for. And I'm so glad, by the way, this is tangent, that they stuck with the Joy-Con form factor. I just love the idea of them. I love that they're still, that they're technically two different controllers if you need them to be. And that's just brilliant. And the fact that they're actually usable now, so I'm gonna to build on your point. Yeah, they just feel way more comfortable in general, much bigger, more comfortable in the hand. Also, SL and SR, You can press them now. You can press them without needing to put on a stupid, wrist strap that I lost almost instantly, right? I wouldn't feel bad about making my friends use these. Because obviously I'm still gonna use a Pro controller, but but yeah, overall I am so happy with the Joy-Cons now. These feel like how they almost always should have felt, right? And it's like they finally nailed it 8 years later. Yeah.
Can I take onto that and instantly mention also the Pro controller?
Yeah. So you Pro or Con?
Pro, absolute Pro.
It's in the name.
You're right.
This thing, oh my god, does it feel nice. I liked the Switch 1 Pro controller. I wouldn't think it was perfect, because like sometimes the buttons feel a bit small and it's not always handy to move from the D-pad to the stick. Like the plastic on this thing feels so much nicer. It feels also much nicer to switch between the buttons here. And the fact that the GL and GR buttons, right? I think those are super handy. Like, for example, with Mario Kart, I have put GL on the capture button, so I don't have to move my hand off the stick and go to that capture button. And with GR, if I want to do the jump and I don't want to do drifting or anything else, I instantly do it with the GR button instead. And it's so nice. Also, the sticks. I don't know what they put in these sticks, but they instantly pop out back to the center once you let loose of them, and it just feels nice.
They're so smooth. Like, the analog sticks just moving around in a circle, it feels so good.
It does. It's probably one of the smoothest I've felt. And also, it's like ridiculously quiet. Like, I'm gonna mash it into the microphone. Here, let me raise this. I'm gonna mash it. You can barely hear it. Like, compare that to the Switch 1.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I'm gonna. This is a weird thing. It might be a me thing. I actually love that click clack of the original Switch 1. So I feel like I'm kind of missing something, on the Switch 2. I will say, I will say this controller's been growing on me, the Switch 2, and I use it mostly just so I can feel like the Switch 2 feels a little bit more different than it may otherwise if I were using like a Switch 1 Switch 1 controller. I wasn't initially the biggest fan of this. Like I did like the original Switch 1 Pro controller, and there's something about this I still find like just really comfortable to go back to, even though this one's really not all that different, but it is growing on me, and including like the smooth plastic, it feels like neither warm or cold to the touch. It just kind of like almost melts into your hand, similarly to how the GameCube controller did.
It just feels like a good piece of kit. Like when you hold this, it just smooths into your hand, and it's super nice to hold.
It does feel nice, so it is growing on me, I won't lie. But I do also kind of like the smooth plastic of the original too. But also, here's a pro. I'm gonna build on that. The original Pro controllers and Joy-Con still work on your Switch 2, which is freaking awesome. Because for as good as the new one is, it's not like a massive 9-day difference or anything. Like, these are both pretty comparable. And so if you have friends coming over, or if you just don't want to spend $80 on new controllers, it's totally fair and you don't want to use the Joy-Cons, just use your Switch 1 Pro controller. The only downside is you can't turn on the Switch 2 with it, which is super lame, and that's a con. That's a super lame con. But otherwise, it's so cool that it supports the old controllers, and I appreciate that, so...
Yeah, I'm right on board with you, Andre. Like, over the weekend while I was with my friends, we had like 5 different Switches. I think only one of us got a Pro controller for the Switch 2. So like, we had a ton of old equipment that we were using, and it worked flawlessly. Like you said, besides that, turning on your Switch, which wasn't a problem because we had a bunch of Joy-Cons sitting around that we can easily turn on with that. But yeah, using the old Joy-Cons, which I didn't use, I used the old Pro controller. Using those equipment on it, or those controllers on it, yeah, it worked flawlessly. I loved it.
Yeah. 2
more points to build on, real quick. I know Don's gotten used to them. I haven't fully like adapted to having GL and GR here. I'm still finding like I probably just need to wait for another game to come along. Like once Dead by Daylight comes to Switch 2, I can already envision some perfect uses for this. But like Mario Kart, I'm not finding it much use, although the snapshot button I have tried and it's not a bad one. But it just feels like it's a lot to remember, just like 2 more buttons on top of everything else. And so I haven't found like a great use for it yet. But the other thing I want to mention, which is another pro, which actually is unique to the Switch 2s, is that it finally has a freaking headphone port. Which now, let's get into our specific pros and cons. So I want to talk about everything here. We'll talk about the general hardware feel, the screen, battery life, all that chat too. I plugged it in and I confirmed, yeah, you don't need to use a Switch 2's built-in microphone. Everything runs through your headset, which is amazing. It was so easy and flawless, except I had to do a quick update to enable it for whatever reason. But yeah, it's so nice. I'm like, man, how did the original controller not have that? And because PS5 and Xbox has had it, so it's so nice to have that on the Switch 2 platform as well now. So, yeah.
Yeah, to me, it's goes on full blast, especially with the music in Mario Kart World.
Right.
It's perfect to have headphones in, and yeah, I mean, I'm in a separated room. I can have the music on as loud as I want. There's something nice about having headphones on, listening to the music full send. There's something nice to that. The fact you can do that on the Pro Controller, it's just fine.
Yeah. All right, I'll keep going on the controller front real quick. I'm still conflicted. I don't know if this is the pro or con, guys. Maybe what's in between a pro and con? Like a mid? Is it a mid?
Yeah, I was trying to think of the same thing. It's like lukewarm.
Yeah, lukewarm.
I don't know what to call.
All right, I don't know either.
The Macon.
This hurts me to say this. The GameCube controller, because I still love this controller. It's still a great controller, but it's not a perfect recreation of the original one, because there's a smooth plastic on the original. Kind of like actually gets back to my Pro controller thing, that I just like I just prefer the feel of this. Ignore the fact I'm using a Waybird right now. I prefer the general feel of it, rather than the kind of like more textured matte finish that the new one has. It's not a huge difference, but it's enough that it triggers me. Or not triggers, but you know what I mean, like affects me. And also, it just principally, like, I wish they had made the effort to completely match the original. But otherwise, it's a pretty close fit in most ways. Though I think the balance feels a little bit different too to me, and that trips me up a little bit too compared to a standard GameCube controller. Otherwise, it's still great. I would still recommend it for GameCube games, obviously. It's just like, it annoys me that they didn't get it 100% perfect, you know? But I do like the additions of, you know, that there's game chat now on it, a game chat button, along with a home button, and you know, and also the L button they added, which is, I guess, nice. So yeah.
And to go off of that, Andre, I know people were asking us in our unboxing video for the GameCube controller. It does work on Smash Bros. Flawlessly, and the nice thing about that too, the game actually picks it up as a GameCube controller, so you don't have to remap anything. Like once you plug it in at the bottom of the screen when you're selecting characters, it doesn't show up as like a weird like Pro controller or something. It just says GameCube controller.
You know what else too? Mario Sunshine and 3D All Stars, which is
there
great.
You go. Yeah.
Triggers, analog triggers work perfectly. So yeah, you don't have to choose anything. It just knows, which is great. And there's not even, I don't think there was even a patch for that game. So whatever the system is doing, it knows it's a GameCube controller for everything, which is great. So yeah. So overall, that's mostly a positive. But yeah, just like a few hang-ups I have on this on the GameCube. So, all right. Don, I forget there's an order or anything, but Don, do you have any other or another pro / con?
I think Nick hasn't said anything in a while.
Okay, so Nick, go ahead.
I'm trying to think what my last thing was, but yeah, I guess again another mixture thing. I don't know where I am with this yet. Is the game chat, right? Like I think it's cool, and I was using it with my friend, and it does have like voice to text or whatever, and it shows up on the side of the screen, which is awesome. And the feature of
like
it
in
in
Twitch
Mario
chat
Kart,
almost, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. It felt like a Twitch chat, and it doesn't, like, if you curse, it doesn't, like, blur out anything, so you can really say whatever you want, but it's only for people in game chat to see. But then again, like, I don't know how often I'm actually going to be using this feature, because I think it's going to be a little bit harder to convince all your friends to switch over to game chat over Discord, especially with friends that don't have a Switch 2, because it's only compatible with people on Switch 2. So, again, like, I think I'm going to be using Discord more with my friends over game chat. What do you guys think of it?
It's a twofold, right? Because technically you can still use game chat even if you are on Discord. Like you can just turn the microphone off.
Yeah.
Like, and I've been sort of using that where I put the microphone off, but still share my game, for example, and still do game share through that fashion. Like we've been playing a bunch of game share still, but yeah, we're not necessarily using the microphone per se, the microphone connection. But otherwise, we're still using it. Because it's a nice thing to have, especially with Mario Kart, we're showing each other's face.
Yeah.
Or when, once again, we're using Game Share to go to Clubhouse games. Then we're still using most of its features. We're not specifically voice chatting in it, but it's nice that it's a feature for some people who don't want to use Discord.
Yeah, this is probably the biggest one that it's just, for me, it's like, it's just too early to say for sure how I feel about it, right? I only really used it for the first time last night, then we're playing around with it a little bit more today for a fun video I have coming up, or it may already be out. In any case, I have to say, so Nick, to your point, I mean, when I first saw the feature, I'm like, that's a straight up Discord. Like, Nintendo just ripped off Discord and called it, game chat or whatever. But on the other hand, I never use Discord screen sharing. I never play games that way. I never screen share that way. I just generally, partly because I just generally avoid PC gaming in general unless I have to. I just don't like using my work setup to play games. And also, I just find all that stuff, even for as simple as Discord is, I still find it sometimes annoyingly complicated at points, you know? Whereas game chat is stupid simple. Like, you can't mess it up, really. It's really freaking simple, and that's its greatest benefit, I think. The fact that it's stupid simple to set up, and I have to say, so... obviously, I've only played with Mario Kart World right now, so I need to try, you know, more games in the future. I really want to try Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 on it, but that looks really fun. But using the actual game chat screen share, I should, yeah, we should.
Yeah, we should, yeah.
Using the actual game screen sharing thing, like during actual Mario Kart races, like you can't really look down there, you're too focused on your own screens, it didn't really add a whole lot. Though I will say it was kind of nice being able to use it to direct a friend who hadn't used any of these features before. They're like, hey, we can see a screen, just go here, click that, and turn it on, or go here for Mario Kart Online, which is really convenient. But also, my favorite feature so far of the actual game chat is how it works in Mario Kart World, like where it puts you in a little circle above your character's head, and that's hilarious. Like seeing your friend's icon like spin when they get hit, and seeing their reactions in real time. That's amazing, and that's really fun, and I'm excited to see that uses like that even more games. We know it's coming to Mario Party Jamboree, you know, and Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 uses it in a similar way as well, or Switch, whatever, it's 2S. I can't wait to see other games that make use of it, and that seems to be my preferred way. And furthermore, it's also really simple, where like it just finds your face, it keeps you in the center, you can move around and it'll recenter it onto you, and again, it's just a really seamless, easy experience. I'm really happy with how it works overall. I'm just not sure how much I'm going to use it, but my first impression of it is actually really positive.
Once again,
and like Don was saying, like that's a great point, which I never thought about, is like using it with Discord and just turning off the voice chat, because then you guys can still be on Discord, and if anyone doesn't have a Switch 2 or doesn't feel like jumping on game chat, they can just jump on Discord. Right. Since you're all there, it's like, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and like I said, I think I will put the most use out of it in tandem with game share, because you have to be in game chat if you're doing it online. But that's fine. Like, you know, like I still feel there's a good amount of use out of that. It's just never going to be a perfect solution, but with Nintendo it never really is.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a frame rate issue. It's like literally 10 frames a second. But it from what I've seen, it wasn't a major problem, because you're not really watching their screens too closely anyway most of the time. But yeah, I think for what it is, it works. I just don't know, how much I'm really going to use it. But I will say, so far I've had fun with it. So I hope it's more fully embraced by more developers going forward. And again, we need Dead by Daylight on Switch 2. It's a perfect game for it. You can see all your survivors, all your teammates' screen feeds. It'd be amazing. The poor killer won't know what happened to him. So I don't know if anyone even cares what I'm talking about right now, but I care. That's all I care about is Dead by Daylight. Anyways, I will go with a con here. I've got con, I think. It's like con. And that's just the OS, in that it just feels way too similar to the original. Like, there's been times where I almost forgot I was playing on the Switch 2, because everything about it feels so similar to the Switch 1. Now, to its credit, by and large, I actually like the Switch 1 OS. It's a little basic, a little plain, no themes, of course, and that's a complaint, no themes here either. But it's functional. It's really functional. It's pretty easy to get around, and it still works. It's just, I wish it had just a little bit more pizzazz than it does. Though I will say the little refinements they made are nice. I like the more rounded corners. There's some cute little animations they added in there that do liven up a little bit. But, you know, on the whole, it's the same thing we've been using for 8 years now. And it doesn't feel like, you know, to whoever impact an OS can have, it doesn't feel like a big jump up from the original Switch.
Yeah, I'm there with you. Like, when you first boot it up, it's just like, wait a minute, and you look at it, you do have to do a double take. You're like, wait a minute, this is a Switch 2, not a Switch 1, because they do look so similar. And I think during the transfer process, that's the only time we got, like, music for the Switch 2, and outside of that, like, there's, like, no menu musics anywhere. They didn't add it to the eShop. They didn't add it to, I guess, I don't know where else you would have it. They don't have it in options or anything like all the other previous Nintendo consoles. So, again, like you said, a little bit more pizzazz would have been nice, but this operating system is fully functional, so we can live with it.
I think I like the smaller details compared to Switch 1 OS. I like the glow around the icons, how everything rounded now is in the menus. Right. Because it looked very flat. Even more flat than before. It looked extremely flat. But in general, outside of that, it's mostly the same, really.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are. I mean, I will say there are some little touches, as you mentioned, that that do liven it up. Like, it does make it feel like, it does make, until you get used to it, it does, like, you can tell the difference almost immediately. It's like, okay, they did do some things here that is a little bit nicer. I will mention real quick, I had this small issue. I'd say small, it could have been a big issue, that for whatever reason, it relates to the virtual game card feature, so it's not Switch 2 only, but for whatever reason, my Switch 2 forgot that I had Mario Kart World. I had been playing it the night before, I turned it on the next day, and it's like, you don't have access to your game card anymore. What the hell? I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, Switch 2? I haven't touched my original Switch, there's no one else using my accounts, I haven't used my account anywhere else, it just completely somehow lost access to Mario Kart World. So in order to get it back, I had to find my Switch OLED, get it close enough to transfer it back over, and I don't even know how that happened, because you can't play Mario Kart World on your Switch OLED, so none of this made sense to me, and it really cemented, like, the fact that I'm still confused and, you know, having issues with this virtual game card feature. Like, it's such... I find it way more confusing than it should be, and I actually had already turned on the setting too to go back to the previous method of how it works, so I don't understand any of this, like why it even happened in the first place, because I had done that, you know, the setting thing that should have made it so I could still just use my account and download whatever I need to. So I don't know, I'm still confused by the whole thing, but I don't know if anyone else has had that issue. Yeah.
I haven't had that issue yet. Like, it makes no sense. Like you said, like Mario Kart World isn't running on Switch 1.
Right.
So like, it's just not possible.
Right.
So
No.
to have this issue, hopefully it was a one-time hiccup. But
I hope
like,
so, yeah.
again, like I hopefully Don or I don't run into this issue at all, because it kind of seems like a nightmare. It's just like you jump into your Switch, it's like, wait a minute, where's my game? Like no one else is using it.
Like if I didn't have my OLED nearby, like could I have reclaimed it somehow? Like I don't know. It was very weird. Anyways,
one other small thing I do want to mention about the OS. I didn't send it to you, Andre. So the first time you boot up Animal Crossing New Horizons on Switch 2, it basically gives you information from, hey, just so you know, when you boot up Animal Crossing New Horizon, you get this screen where you have to choose the villager associated with your account, which is the similar how it's used with the transfer tool, which I appreciate, at least at minimum, for like a guardian or somebody who doesn't understand and just transfer to Switch 2. Hey, you doing it this way.
Nick, do you have another pro or con for us?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with, I guess we already covered GameCube, but we didn't go into, like, I guess the GameCube NSO at all. We talked about the GameCube controller. But yeah, the GameCube NSO, like, I played it a bunch over the weekend when I was on vacation, and I had no issues with it whatsoever. Like, the games run great, the widescreen support is there, the controller works great in it. If you're using another controller, like, it still works great. That new feature of being able to map out the controls, I love that that's a thing. And on top of that, I love that it actually shows you what they do. So they're going into each individual game and telling you what each individual controller button does for those games. So it's not like you have to like look for a manual or you have to pull up something like in game or go online and find something. It's like, no, if you're playing F-Zero, it's like, oh, this is how you boost. You press like the X button or the Y button. This is how you brake. Like everything is right there in that one place. So yeah, GameCube NSO, I would say that's a pro. I'm loving it so far. Only downside is I wish there was more games. There's just 3 right now. I'm waiting for more games to come out for it.
Yeah, especially, you know, Mario Strikers, which I gotta play at the event. Yeah, but no, GameCube's been a big win. People have been asking for it forever. It's nice to finally have it. And especially that some of those games back then had widescreen support, which holds up so well now. It's like, thank you developers for 20 years ago having the foresight to add widescreen, because F-Zero GX looks amazing still, right? And also, yeah, being able to remap controllers is fantastic, to the point that I wish that were just a standard feature for every game on the Switch too. You know, so if a game doesn't support it innately, let's remap everything without having to do it at a system level, right? You know what I mean, that affects every game. So, also, I was going to mention, too, that reminds me of one other thing I wanted to mention during the Pro Controller section. But, so, one thing with the Pro Controller, we mentioned the GL and GR buttons, they can map to whatever you want. You can't map them, though, to control stick directions. And that would have been really, like, there's been a couple uses I can think of where I would have liked to have done that. Where if I press GR, it would be as if I'm pressing, like, the right stick to the right, for instance. And I wish it would add that ability, whether for GameCube or otherwise, so...
Oh, that's not... I didn't even think about doing that. So, like, if you're playing, like, Mario Kart World, and you're doing, like, a gliding section or a flying section,
you can
just
look
left and right, and that's so much easier than using, like, the analog stick. You can just, like, tap it a tiny bit.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, for the you could, like, tap it and you can move left to right, or if you assign it to the right stick, you could have it act as a camera, you know, where you can spin the camera to your right. Yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
Then you could just snipe someone with, like, a turtle shell or something like that.
Now that we have the 360-degree aiming of Mario Kart, which we made a video on, by the way, that would be perfect, but it's hard to do otherwise because your thumb is on the gas, meaning if you move your thumb to the right stick, then you can't gas anymore unless you turn on auto accelerate. So really, this could benefit a ton of games. You know, it's not even just Mario Kart, like any game where having camera control while you're using the face buttons would gain benefit from this. So that's something they need to add, so I think.
So with the GL and GR, because I don't have a Pro controller, when you map it, is it a system level thing or is it a game to game?
It's a game specific thing.
Oh, it's per game. Wow. Okay, that's shocking.
It saves it per game. So what happens is you press the home button, which opens the quick menu where you can also go to flight mode. At the bottom it says GL and GR. You press on one of those two, and then you instantly map it to a button.
Yeah,
wow,
that's great.
That's pretty impressive. Yeah, that's awesome that it's able to do it per game instead of like a system base or system wide.
I should probably also point out this is not just the Pro controller; it's also the charging grip.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, no, that's like really so many small refinements, like so many smart additions they did with the Switch 2. And I'm gonna get to my next pro here. Is that this is surprising for me to say that I historically have hated all these stupid Nintendo apps they made, but the Switch Online app, like legit, actually really good now. Like not only can you easily access your friend list, you can access your media. It's updated instantly from the Switch 2. Like I was shocked. I took a video, went to the app, instantly there. Then you can share it from the app to Twitter or Blue Sky, wherever you want. And it works flawlessly. So I've been really happy with the app. Also, even sharing friends now. There's a QR code you can use in the app. And when I was waiting at the GameStop for my Switch 2 release, I was just befriending people there using the QR code. It was so perfect. Nice. So yeah, so I really shout out to Nintendo for finally making the app good after 8 years. Really, really good refinements there, and I'm really happy with that. And
on iOS, it also uses like the actual share menu. So when I hold the screenshots and go to share, it instantly says, "Do you want to go to Twitter, Blue Sky, whatever?" It instantly opens the app and uploads those screenshots there, which is nice.
Wow, that's awesome. That's great. Sorry, I don't mean to keep bringing stuff up here, but it's related. Do you have something you want to add there, Nick, or no?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say to piggyback off of what you're saying, like this improvement is like before I would take a lot of screenshots, but now since you don't have to do the hassle of taking out your phone and doing the QR code thing or whatever, and waiting a few seconds, like this having this instant, it's like this is amazing. Like this is a
game
much
changer. No, like, it was to the point. It was so annoying on Switch 1. Like you had to, like especially like I had to turn off my cellular network in order to access the Wi-Fi on the Switch for it to actually connect. You have to like take it's like a minute to 2 minute process at least. And now it's just completely seamless. And it was so annoying before that I would just usually just take a picture of my TV. It was just way easier.
Yeah, it's but faster, now this because like you said. Sometimes that process will just disconnect while you're trying to connect to like the Switch, right? Like it's just like annoying. Like I just want to send a simple video over, like a picture, like you take out your phone, screenshot. I'm like, okay, that's it.
Yeah. But there's also like mostly annoying about that stuff. On Switch 1, you could transfer everything over between the Switch to your PC by plugging in the charge cable. It had an entire map system for every game. Like you could. Every map was specifically to a game, and it's screenshots and videos attached to it. The fact that they only added filters now on Switch 2 is sort of funny.
Yeah, that is. I do have a con here, though, related to this. My con is the video capture quality kind of sucks still. For one, it's only 30 seconds in total, which is the same limit Switch 1 has, but it didn't get expanded at all. Two, it only captures at 30 frames per second, which is immediately obvious in the launch game being Mario Kart World. And I also don't know if it's capturing in 4K or not. I don't know if any of us know. Maybe it is. I haven't checked that part.
I think it's 1080p.
Is there 1080p?
I think, yeah, 1080p, yeah.
So 1080p 30? Are you kidding me, Nintendo? Like, at 30 seconds in total? Like, sometimes I need to record more than that, and it is unfortunate that it's still stuck with the same limitations largely as Switch 1. So that is... I will say, I mean, the video quality is better than Switch 1 because 1080p, it was 720p before. Yeah. But still, like, 30 frames per second, like, you have this pristine image now, and it looks not great when you share these videos. So yeah, that part annoys me. Anyways, Don, do you have another pro or con for us?
I would consider both a pro and a con. Let's talk about the mouse controls.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
The pros is that I played it in a bunch of third-party games, including Civ 7, the mode in Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S. There are a bunch of games that support it, and for the majority, it works really well as you expect it would.
Yeah.
Like one Joy-Con is meant as your controller option with the stick, and then the right is the mouse, and it just works perfect. It works as you expect it would. I find it really surprising that there isn't as many first-party software, and we talked about this before, where I think the upgrade for Mario Party should have been at launch.
It should have been, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm still shocked that for such an important feature, which they use in their marketing, the only game from a first-party perspective that uses it on day one is Welcome Tour.
Which is, kind of embarrassing, honestly. I mean, especially because that game itself is still kind of like, it feels like it's marketing to you. And, had it been a pack-in, I think it would just, I mean, even putting aside the fact that a lot of people would prefer it as a pack-in, I think it just makes sense because it would showcase those features. Like, it would give people a free way of trying out the mouse outside of the home screen, and it'd be better. Yeah. But even beyond that, Don, like, they could have added it into, Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom for like aiming your bow and arrow, for instance, like they could, or enhancing the menu, giving you mouse controls in the menu or something. They could have added, I think, small little enhancements to like give us a better taste of the mouse. Whereas right now, third parties are the one carrying the support for it. Like they're the ones really showcasing what the mouse can do.
To be fair, I did try it a bit in Game Builder Garage as well, and it actually feels nice. Like I still mostly did on my lap because of the mouse feet on the Joy-Con strap.
Yeah,
and it works perfectly fine. Like I have no issue with it.
So it worked great on your lap, on your
yeah. Just like here, like I'm sitting with the stick in my hand and this on my lap, it works perfectly fine. I'll be honest, like once again, outside of Game Builder Garage, which is an update, and it already had USB mouse support anyway.
Right.
And then Welcome Tour, like once again, the fact that the Mario Party update comes out a week after Donkey Kong Bonanza, and it's clearly done. Like, come on.
And I played it. I played it.
Yeah, it was clearly fine to put it on launch day.
Well, also, I had a whole video about, like, games I thought would be launched. I correctly predicted Mario Kart World. I incorrectly predicted Metroid Prime 4. Because that game is such a perfect showcase of the mouse, too. I played it at the Dallas event. And it's so good that I don't know if I want to play the game any other way now. It's just that good. Now, I'm curious, Don, so when you were playing Game Builder Garage, were you sitting on your couch then, or in a chair, or in your chair right now? Or?
Literally this chair right here. In front of this screen right here.
Got it. So I wonder, have any of us tried to like sitting on a couch or something yet, or like in a more relaxed environment?
Yeah, so I did it just during like Welcome Tour, and again, like I was sitting on the couch and I just put the like Joy-Con like on my knee, and it felt fine. Like I had no issues, even like when I was just like I guess surfing. I want to say surfing because I think of a mouse like online or using it on a computer. But when I was like going through like the home screen and just like going back and forth and going through all my icons, that's when I was using it. I feel like the most just to kind of like test it out. But even like I tried something like you guys said before, like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, which I thought I was crazy because I thought it had mouse control, but it was just the motion control because I put it on my leg. Yeah, it should, because I was like, oh wait a minute, like you can use motion control for the arrow, the bow and arrow. So I tried it and I put it on my lap and I was like, wait a minute, no, I think that's just motion controls. Like I'm just messing with myself. But yeah, to go to your points again with the Mario Party, it's just shocking that that wasn't here at launch, right? Like, not only does it support the camera, but it also supports the mouse. 2 new features for the Switch console, for Switch 2. It's like, this should have been a launch title, like, right out of the gate.
Yeah, I fully agree. So, I mean, that'll get resolved in time, of course. It is kind of just weird to see, like, Nintendo usually does a great job of showcasing their major new features at launch, and this is one of those times when they just didn't. It's kind of like launching the 3DS without a 3D game, like, can you imagine that? It's like, like the mouse feature is probably the biggest change when it comes to actually playing games on Switch 2, and they had almost nothing to showcase it. Like, Welcome Tour, it, for one, barely even uses it, and to the degree that it does, it's not like an amazing showcase of it, No. So, yeah.
Like it feels like, in my opinion, that third parties are carrying the mouse control support. Like, fully.
They really are.
Definitely.
Like, and once again, I played a bunch of good examples of motion with mouse that work perfectly in a bunch of different use cases. But the fact that Nintendo is not doing them themselves is, I think, a disservice to that feature.
Yeah. Real quick, how was the comfort of actually holding the Joy-Con itself? I know some people are concerned that, like, may not be super ergonomic because of how kind of thin the Joy-Cons are. How did you guys feel? Especially, I guess you, Dom, did you use them more? Did it feel fine, or did you wish you had a little bit more grip on it?
I think compared to Switch 1 Joy-Con, it's such an improvement. It works so much better.
But I mean, when using it as a mouse specifically.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I think it's absolutely fine because
Okay,
I have
good.
pretty large hands, and I was not very used to, even when I was using like the small mini games in 1-2 Switch with the Joy-Con one.
Right.
I had a very hard time like picking it up. These ones are very easy to pick up and hold. Like it's
Okay.
very easy to rest on the curves and then
Yeah.
hold your fingers over the L and ZR button.
Good. All right, glad to hear it. All right. Do we have any other pros or cons we can think of that we haven't touched on yet? I forget. Did we talk? Did we touch on battery life in this one? We tried recording it earlier.
We haven't talked about
Oh,
battery
that's
life yet.
Nick,
Go
we got
ahead,
video
go
for
ahead.
this.
Yeah.
You got a big
Okay.
con, I think. Not spoilers.
Yeah, this is a con. This is a con. Again, after playing it like over the weekend on the trip and everything, I was just so confused. Again, like I will be able to get a better understanding of this in the long run, like over the next couple of months. And again, it's going to be like a game-to-game basis, and obviously how much like of the brightness is on my screen and what controllers are connected and all that stuff. But yeah, like over the weekend when I was playing it, like I felt like we would play for maybe like 40 minutes or an hour in order to be like at halfway. This is just on Mario Kart. So like my friends and I were we were jumping back and forth between the TV. Like, okay, who wants to jump on the TV to charge? Who wants to go to handheld? What's your battery level at? And even like I said, like I'd be like the first one to wake up in the morning, so I was making sure like everyone's Switch is charged. I would look at some Switches. I'm like, wait a minute, were they up till like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning? Like, why isn't this thing charging? Like, so again, I don't think it's really there. Again, we'll get a better understanding in the long run and how to work with it. But yeah, I'm a little upset with the battery right now.
What I understand from Nintendo themselves is that they want you to use the official brick, which is sort of annoyance to me. I used to with the Switch
charging
One. I used to
cable. You mean that came with
the cable and the brick.
The brick, right?
Yeah. Normally, I would on Switch One, I would just plug in a power bank and let it charge that way and just continue playing. The thing is now is that I'm not sure if that would hold any power transfer power to Switch 2, which either means buying a better power bank, which sure,
Yeah,
or just bringing the power brick along, which I don't necessarily think is a really ideal option. I mean, there are more places where you can plug into the mains and let it charge, with USB cables more being prevalent everywhere. It's just not the most ideal or elegant solution.
right. Yeah, no, that isn't. I mean, it makes it traveling with it a little bit more inconvenient if you have to carry like that extra cable with you and the brick and everything. But yeah, when it comes to battery life specifically, like, you know, for me, it doesn't really affect me because, like I said before, I'm not a handheld gamer these days, and I play I like to play docked only, you know, primarily docked. But that being said, I totally get, like, you know, there's a huge Reddit thread also I was reading about, like, the battery life woes people are having, where, like, yeah, I was playing Mario Kart World and it drained in, like, you know, mostly in under 2 hours, I believe, or maybe it's a little over 2 hours, right around there. And yeah, that's not a ton of playtime, and that, you know, especially for a company like Nintendo, you know, like, who've been historically pretty good about that. You know, the Switch started teetering on the line, though it was still decent for what it was, but the Switch 2, by and large, seems like it's worse than the Switch 1's battery life. But on the other hand, well, actually, at the same time, like, this is also uncharacteristic for Nintendo, because the Switch 2 it's basically top of the line. Now, obviously, you know, there's more powerful systems out there that you plug into the wall, like, you know, they're way bigger, of course. Like, when it comes to a handheld device, from, like, what I've been seeing, the Switch 2 is basically one of the most powerful things out there right now, and given that, its battery life is basically top of class for that, too. So there are real-world limitations of what Nintendo can do here that, you know, it's like the trade-off would have been either A, you add a way bigger battery, make the Switch 2 way bigger, more expensive as well, or you make it less powerful. You know, people have lost their minds if the Switch 2 were, you know, not that big of an upgrade over the Switch 1, right? So they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, and this isn't to defend them, it's just to explain it, you know? And so I think for what it's going for, you know, the compromise that they made makes sense, but I can see why some would be annoyed by the battery life not being as good as it, you know, as previous systems.
Yeah, and ultimately for us, like, you can still plug it in once in a while. It's not the most or worst ultimate trade-off.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of it. Like, there's a couple things, right? Like, you know, for one, power outlets are more accessible than ever these days, especially like on a plane. Like, almost every plane has a power outlet now, so that's not even a concern. Second, you know, we all carry other devices with us, like an iPad or iPhone, so it's not like this is the only thing we have to keep us entertained now, right?
Sure.
And again, I don't want to defend it too much, but it's just the way things is, like the way things are.
Yeah. The only thing because I'm a 60/40, so I can easily switch still and just let it charge for a while and do something else.
Yeah.
I think people will suck the most is people who are they're predominantly only in handheld. Like they don't play on a TV. They don't think any of those options are interesting to them. They solely play it as a handheld. And for them to constantly charge it after only like an hour or two and constantly be plugged into the mains, that will feel a bit limiting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and to go back to what you were saying, Andre, right? Like it's like a little flip-flop for Nintendo, right? Like usually they aren't the powerhouse, and usually they have this battery that's lasting hours and hours, right? Like I can go to my DS that I probably haven't touched in like 3 or 4 years and power it on. It's like, oh, I can play this thing for like 5 or 6 hours, right? Like no issue. Yeah. But that was the case for my Switch too. It's like, no, I got to plug this thing in right away. So I think it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment for most of us, like Nintendo players. But in the long run, like I think we'll probably get used to it.
Yeah, it's not like we've not seen this before. There are plenty of PC handhelds that have the same issue.
Yeah,
like the Steam Deck, as good as that is, it doesn't have a ton of battery life in it.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. Okay, this is kind of funny thing, and to be fair, it could be I wasn't looking in the right places. But I said before, when the Steam Deck came out, I was telling my friends, like, if Nintendo had launched a console with the battery life of the Steam Deck, they would have been dragged through the mud. They will have been destroyed by it. I heard almost nary a whisper about the terrible battery life of the Steam Deck, or maybe not terrible. Again, it's all relative to what the handheld is, but the less than impressive battery life of the Steam Deck, And now we have a Nintendo system which, as far as I've read, still has a better battery life than Steam Deck, but isn't isn't well beyond it or anything. So it's just funny to me that Steam Deck got by fine, no one cared, and now it's an issue on Switch too. So
I mean, it's also more aerodynamic enclosed system, so obviously it's a bit to differentiate compared to the Steam Deck.
Exactly.
But, there's a lot to think about and consideration how you want to handle that sort of device.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm not begging on Steam Deck either. Like it's doing its own thing. It's playing games that by and large weren't made with Steam Deck in mind. So it's just funny that just how different factions, almost if you will, can like frame things differently depending on the motive or how they feel about their own systems or whatever, right? So anyways, anything else related to, I was gonna say though, I guess a couple tips for those who are looking to extend the battery life is, for one, in the settings there is an option to charge only up to 90%, which should, in the short term, doesn't necessarily help you get longer battery life for now, but in the long term it should, because your battery will last longer in general. So that means that battery life you'll have less diminished capacity over time. So you may want to turn that on.
Sure.
Secondly, if you're playing portably and don't expect to be able to charge it for a while, turn that brightness way down, turn off HDR in handheld mode. From what I've read, it barely even matters in handheld mode anyway. The screen may not even be able to take full advantage of it when the screen itself. So turn off HDR, and then also turn off your Wi-Fi chip if you're not playing, online or locally with friends. That should all help. And also, I think Nintendo, it would behoove them to add like a low power mode. Make a simple option for those who want the minimum viable product to play their games. Maybe even to the point where it could run games at a lower resolution. Like maybe at 720p. I think a lot of people would be happy to play those games at a lower resolution. It won't look great on that bigger screen now, but if it meant eking out like another hour or two of battery, right? So yeah,
that's something they could easily add into the future, right? Like they could just, here's firmware update, like number, something. But that's something that they could, I hope they add, because again, like if you're going on that long trip and you're gonna be on a plane for like a few hours, it's like, let me try to get the most out of my Switch 2 while I'm like traveling.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Any other pros and cons from anyone that we have and haven't touched on yet?
I think we're pretty much.
Yeah, I think we
covered most bases.
Right? We've done pretty good. Yeah. I've got a middle one then. A middle one.
Okay.
It covers both spectrums. Pro: the eShop runs better now, like substantially better than before. Con:
yes,
still not good enough. Like it's still like has hiccups every now and then, like when it's loading things or whatever. I'm like, why isn't this flawless yet? And I wish that they had ironed out even more at this point. But yeah.
I mean, that's the volley of using a web-based app.
It is.
There are always going to be hiccups, but in general, like, let's be fair here. They did a tremendous job updating that thing.
I don't know how much of it is purposeful versus just the natural, Switch 2 power helping steamroll through that thing.
Oh yes, the raw power of the Switch updates web apps. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I guess I think a possible solution would be if it can pre-cache things. Like if you're just sitting on the home screen, maybe you can download some of the stuff in advance, so it doesn't have to grab it immediately off the website if there weren't any updates. Like I feel like there has to be a better way of making it work. But I feel like, on Android, like when I go to my Play Store app, like that runs really well. Like even when it's, I guess here's the main thing, Don, right? I wish the app were able, like even if things aren't actively loaded in yet, just let me still control it, like don't, like let the controls be smooth while it's loading in that stuff. Like on Android, you'll see it fill in as I'm scrolling through it, but I can still use it fine, so. Yeah.
Well, that's also the difference, like the Play Store and Apple's App Store are all both native apps.
Yeah, I guess with Nintendo, I wish Nintendo would switch over to, more of a native app rather than an exclusively like browser-based solution.
They've become better, but it's never going to be perfect. I still think they want to keep a low profile on that stuff.
Yeah.
The majority of the OS power currently going to game chat. But like honestly, like I still think in general like that eShop is so much.
It's
better.
Definitely better
because like if you look at upcoming releases, they divide it now by month. Yep. If you go to new releases, they highlight like 6 or 8 games, and then you go to new releases. So things that were recently popular. Mm-hmm. They still have a better highlight page to like promote individual titles and more tiles. I think in general it's a much better eShop. The only thing that sort of annoys me, and that is not as handy in Reach, if there's a demo, there's no dedicated demo button on the Switch 2 eShop, which I think is kind of weird.
Yeah, that is weird. They really should have that. That would be a good addition. Someone who tweeted at me mentioned too, like I guess trailers autoplay now, and I think they were a fan of that. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, that is correct. After a few seconds, they now play with audio.
If you highlight the tile, the trailer loads. Yeah.
Yeah, that's from Stella Thera. I should know how to pronounce her name. They're in all of our streams and whatever. So thanks for the comment on that. Do we have any other like little tidbits we like or dislike about the system? Like I've got one. I actually like the startup sound. Like it's just a cute little touch, when you wake up from sleep mode, and it's actually useful too because like it tells me that the Switch 2 actually is on. So if I don't see it on my TV, I know there's a problem. Whereas the Switch 1, I wasn't always sure if it was actually on or not, until I checked it. So
yeah, I think like I mentioned it before, but like the tile system, it's not much, but I think it looks nicer with the glow around the icons and how everything is.
That's really nice.
I prefer that. And there's not much else really to the UI being new per se.
Yeah.
But I just think it looks overall a bit cleaner. Also, I really appreciate for people who need it, like the accessibility option suite. Like the fact that they actually included accessibility options in a Nintendo system. It feels like a long time coming because PlayStation and Xbox were so ahead of the curve on that.
We briefly mentioned it before, but the fact that they have that voice to text and text to voice features in game chat is amazing. Like I had enabled the voice to text option, which puts like a little like Twitch like chat next to your window. It's so cool because for one, it works remarkably well, transcribing everything we said perfectly, showing who said it and what they said. And it didn't even censor swear words. That surprised me. I thought Nintendo would censor swear words, but not at all. So yeah, you could say whatever you want, it'll get translated there for better or worse. I suppose.
I will say that's one leg up over Discord because for Discord you need a separate bot for that.
Yeah, no, that's nice. Seamless. The only thing I wish you could do is I wish you could scroll back through the history, which you can't do. So it doesn't take too long for messages to get pushed off the screen. It'd be nice if you could change that. But then you can write messages too, and they'll read it to everyone else. Like, super nice. So yeah, the accessibility stuff is a really good pro. So yeah, hats off to Nintendo for that. Nick, any other pros or cons, like tidbits you want to touch on?
This might be just a me thing. Maybe you guys will also say it's a con, but I'm going to say the backplate to the actual dock. This thing, I don't know why, I always get hiccup just trying to put this thing on and take it off. I've done it multiple times because I've been taking the dock out and moving it to multiple places. But yeah, just getting these little like notches on the back to it. I don't know why. I haven't figured it out yet. I've gotten it a couple of times to work, but like no, I wish it was as easy as the Switch ones.
I've got a solution for you, a little trick, if you will. Just keep it off. Just keep it off.
Yeah, that might be, yeah, right. Like don't. Yeah, I shouldn't bother putting this thing back on. So yeah,
I guess you do lose the nice little curve of it, but yeah, it's like it's facing away from people anyway, so no one's even gonna see it.
Yeah, you're not looking at it, so there's no point.
I wish they had like hinged it though, or made it easier to pop back in. I agree. It's like actually I don't even know where it is. I lost mine entirely now at this point. So
on that same vein, how do we feel about the game card slot? How it opens? Because
I haven't tried it. I know physical games.
Yeah.
Oh, I was confused at first. Maybe wait, Andre, we should see your reaction to it at first.
Okay,
because, like, when I'm trying to go for it.
I'm trying to figure it out. Okay, wait. Okay, do I open from the top? No. To push it down? I'm stumped, guys. Oh, there we go. Oh, what the heck? It's
right.
It's like, oh, see, this is how the back dock should be. That's how the back dock should be. That's actually really cool.
That's why I thought of that.
Yeah, good idea. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's how the dock should be. Or man, that's kind of nice. See, that feels premium. I like that. That feels really good. So
yeah.
Yeah, when I first put in a Switch 1 game, I was trying to lift it up from the top. I was like, wait, is this even the spot where you put it in the cartridge? I was like looking around for everywhere. I was like, wait a minute. Oh, you lift it from the back now. I was so confused.
Yeah, you lifted now the game card stuff from the back now, which took a while to adjust to because I have a lot of Switch 1 games with Switch 2 upgrades, like Civilization and stuff, so I have to put it back in. It's like, huh. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I get that. So I have a small tidbit. I guess I wish I mentioned it earlier. I forgot to mention this. It relates back to game chat, though. One thing that doesn't annoy me with game chat is, as far as I'm aware, once you start a game chat session, you can't add people to it, which is really annoying. You have to quit the session, create a new one, and then invite people from there, which is really, I don't know why they did it that way, because it's stupid. It's really dumb.
I don't understand it.
Yeah,
that's frustrating because like if you have like a few friends online and then someone else jumps online,
right?
It's like, we gotta re-invite or invite a new person. If someone doesn't get that invite, it's like or someone else just joins, like we have to start a whole new party again.
Yeah,
because I've done a lot of game share over the last few days. A lot of people then contact me from, hey, could we do game share? It's like, yeah, sure, set it up. And then literally 2 minutes later, somebody else invites me to another game chat session to do the exact same thing. I'm like, I wish I could invite you to an existing session. Now I have to make an entire new one. Yep. Okay.
And then you have to re-invite everyone. They need to fix that. They need to patch that. So, Gregory is asking, has anyone used the grip much yet?
I've been using it all weekend. Yeah.
How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I like it.
I'm enjoying it a lot. I feel very comfortable. It does kind of feel, I guess, more like the GameCube controller, right? It's a little bit more, I guess, like glossier. It's not like that matte finish, right? So I get like the new GameCube one, but I have no complaints with it so far.
It feels a bit more flat compared to the Switch 1 grip. But I kind of want to see. I might pick one up now that I'm super intensely curious. I might pick up a charging grip and see how that one is like.
Yeah, it's just, isn't it basically the same, just with the charging cable, or?
Well, also the GL and GR buttons.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's actually kind of cool.
So I kind of want to see how that feels with that specific design, with those buttons attached to it, and how the buttons specifically feel compared to the Pro Controller, because I've not seen a lot of people talk about that.
Well, and kind of to that point, Gregory is when they brought this up about asking about the grip, because they mentioned the Pro Controller is amazing, but that they say it highlights how terrible the new Joy-Con grip is, especially at the sides. They were saying it didn't feel too comfortable at the sides. Did either of you know notice that, or
it just feels very flat?
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Yeah.
So
I guess I haven't used the Joy-Con or the Pro Controller that much, so like I don't really have that much direct comparison. But like I think I might if I start using it or if I get one. But I have no issue with it so far. The grip.
But that's why I'm very interested in how the charging grip would feel. I might pick one up actually. Why not?
Yeah, might as well. Do you know what it costs in USD by chance?
I think 35, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don, moving on. I forget if I mentioned it earlier, so correct me if I'm wrong. But I think another tidbit, maybe we did, is you were telling me earlier that you've been playing a lot of Switch 1 games, even ones that didn't get patched. And you were saying they like run way better on Switch 2?
Yes. It kind of depends on how much they lock the frame rate. But for the majority of games, like they run a lot better, or at least on a solid frame rate. For example, another example is Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity.
Yeah.
That just runs smooth now.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's huge.
I tested that out. I tested out Age of Calamity split screen, and it ran. I don't know what the frame rate was, but it was solid. Like there was no drops, and I could barely play Age of Calamity split screen because that thing is just chugging all over the place. So they playing it split screen at a solid frame rate. I'm like, oh, I'm excited to see the new one. The Age of
I'm not sure how like the emulation like transformation is from Switch 1 to Switch 2, but it seems like anything that is transferred over and works just has better frame rates now.
This is not really related directly to the Switch 2, but Darren says, why can't you join friends online knockout tours, and will Nintendo add it? Yeah, that's super annoying. As far as I can tell, there's no way to join people when they're playing a game, or not even just that, to join as a group into a public lobby, which sucks. It sucks so much, and I wish, I would have brought this up in my review if I had realized it then, because that is an annoying issue. Like, you either have to play in your small private lobby unless you have 24 friends you can invite, or you all play individually, and hope you get into the same lobby, which is extremely unlikely, because as far as I can tell, there's no way to join them. I thought I had read that there was, but I was testing it last night, and we never got the option to join a friend who was playing, in racing or knockout tour, which is so silly. Like what we should be able to do is join a lobby, a friend group, a free roam session together, a friend room, and then from there join a public lobby, and that's not a thing.
Wait, is this restriction only for Knockout Tour, or can I play?
Oh, it's also for versus races.
Yeah.
It's for both. That makes no sense because you would because you would be able to do that in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Like, why is that a locked feature in this?
I would say Nintendo would think, well, it hurts the integrity of the ranked system. I'm like, who cares about the ranked system?
Exactly.
Mario
who
Kart?
gives a crap? Bingo. And I mean, if it really does, then don't count it for that race, or whatever. I'm sure there's workarounds. But yeah, it's really unfortunate because that'd be really fun. Like, what I ended up doing is something that most people won't be able to do. Is I tweeted out the room of the idea. I'm like, hey, we need more people in this room. Come join. And we got like half the lobby filled that way. But most people can't do that, and it sucks that there's no good way to play with their friends besides having CPUs fill in the rest, which isn't CPUs suck. They're not that fun, right? And so I wish.
I found them pretty challenging in Knockout Tour if you put them on hard. Like.
Yeah, I've done that.
They will screw you. They will screw you.
It's less the difficulty of them and more that I just hate knowing I'm not playing against humans, so yeah.
The feeling of throwing a green shell at a computer versus a human is very different.
Exactly. Or being hit by someone else. Like, it infuriates me when it's a human. If it's a CPU, it's like, well, you have no feelings. So
yeah.
Like, I know you didn't even you had no thought put into that.
I can't believe you're this upset by being hit by a CPU, man.
I know. I need to feel that raw visceral pain. Dawn, so I need it.
Fair
All
enough.
right, any final thoughts on the Switch 2? I guess one thing we didn't touch on is a price. Do we feel it justified itself? At $450 or $500 with a bundle.
I mean, it's pretty premium, so I understand it. So
yeah.
I don't love it, but I understand it.
Right.
Yeah, I think I'm there with Don too. Like, I don't love it, but I understand it. Especially like if you're buying a Switch like day one, like the thing you have to go after is Mario Kart, right? Like, I don't know like what else you would be really getting it for, because like the bundle is the way to go, because then you save more money on Mario Kart. So yeah, like again, like exactly what Don said. I don't love it, but like I understand the price. So
yes,
I think that's how I feel too. I mean, for what the Switch 2 is, I think it's extremely reasonable. Like, I don't love paying. I just got a Pixel 9 not too long ago, so I can have a better camera for like filming and stuff. And I forget what I paid on that, but it wasn't cheap either, and I didn't like paying that. But for what you get, it's worth it. And I feel the same way about the Switch 2. Like, I feel like for what it is and how much of an enhancement it is in many ways over the Switch 1, that I think it justifies its price pretty well. And it's still, I think it's still basically like the cheapest of the next gen systems. I mean, ignoring, I guess, or no, even like, because isn't Series S now like even more than the Switch 2, or is it? Like, they raised the prices.
Yeah, they increased the prices of all their Xbox products. So,
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So
just about, but yeah.
Yeah. So I think, the fact that it's in that same price region as consoles that came out years ago, if not even cheaper than the top of the line ones, I think really speaks to the credit of the Switch 2. And I think I think again it justifies its price, even if it is a premium price compared to any other Nintendo platform. So. Well, final thoughts. Now that we've covered everything, What's your, I guess, yeah, I guess as we wrap it up, overall thought on the Switch 2, and if you have a highlight of the Switch 2 you want to talk on. Nick, I know you got something you want to say.
Well, so this is more or less to what you were just saying, but I have I guess a pro or con, which I haven't tested out yet.
Okay.
Does anyone know if the flavor of the cartridge tastes better now? Has anyone tested it? I don't have any physical games.
Can this meme die? Like it's been over 8 years. Let it die. Let people figure it out on their own if they really want to know. We're not responsible for people's mistakes.
I remember I tasted one.
That's a good thing about digital games. You don't need to taste them. So
that's true.
There's game key cards, man.
Yeah, you should not be sticking your tongue in the cartridge slot of your Switch 2. So, yeah. So Nick, final thoughts plus a highlight that you've enjoyed about the Switch 2.
Yeah. I mean, I'm loving Mario Kart so much right now. It feels like a premium product, like the Switch as a whole. Like, right? Like I've been playing a lot in handheld. I'm like, oh, this is beefy. This is like I've seen the Switch grow up, right? Which is kind of weird to say because like going from the Switch to the Switch Lite, there wasn't much of a grow up there. But like the Switch to the OLED, and now we're finally at the Switch 2 after all this time. So to see the process and the evolution of the Switch to Switch 2, yeah, I'm very happy with where we're at now, and I'm only excited for the future with the games that we're going to see from first party and third party. So yeah, I'm just thrilled with the overall console itself.
Awesome. How about you, Don?
I feel we're still like pretty much at the beginning, so it feels like
straight up.
Yeah, I mean, it does also feel like it because like I finished one first-party game, which is Mario Kart for the most part, and I dabbled a bit in Welcome Tour, but for the rest, I've been mostly.
You have not found all 5,000 P switches, Don.
You know what? You know what? I'm good on that. To be honest. There's no ultimate reward for it. I feel so. I'm fine
no
with
golden
that.
poop this time.
No.
Too bad.
But at this point, I am mostly like rediscovering Switch 1 games that are better, so like Scarlet and Violet, and mostly going for third-party stuff like Cyberpunk.
Right.
And you know, I had a very dynamic like couple of days where I tried all the new things and a good combination of both. And I feel pretty good about that, especially because everything from Switch 1 carries over to Switch 2 for the most part.
Yeah.
But it's to me, it's just a wait-and-see approach. Hopefully, sooner rather than later, we get an idea of what their end of year is going to look like, and at that point, we can also make a more resolute like judgment on it. Right. But for now, I'm pretty happy. Like, I mean, there's a lot to play and there's a lot to do. Like, and I've discovered not everything right now. Like, there's a lot of stuff still to go through. But for a start, for the first couple of days, like, it's been fun. Like, I had a good time.
Yeah, I guess real quick, since I hadn't thought of it till now, how do you feel this ranks among other Nintendo consoles? Obviously, I don't need like launch periods. Yeah. Like let's roughly where you like is it at the top, middle of the pack, bottom?
It's definitely on the higher echelon, but not so much because of first-party software, because of the broad range of software that's available on day one.
Yeah.
Specifically with the updates and the launch games. Because in total, if you include the actual upgrades for Switch 1 games, plus all the games that are available on day one, that's 39 games.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And that doesn't even include games that are technically not updated, but run better on Switch 1 because you already own them.
Right.
There is a lot to discover. And that's not the most exciting launch because basically a carryover from the last system.
Right.
But guess what? You have a lot more to play on day one than you had on Switch 1.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's kind of like breathing new life into a library you already have, which is pretty neat. How about you, Nick? You feel the same way, or?
Yeah, like Don said, I think it's like on the higher end. It might not be like my favorite. Obviously, like with the caveat of like, oh, you can play all these older games now, which a lot of the previous Nintendo consoles really didn't have. Again, maybe like the Wii U or like the 3DS or like the Game Boy Advance, which was nice. But yeah, like I was just thrilled at how smooth this transition was. Like, I don't think we've fallen in anything else. Like maybe like Wii to Wii U, it's like, oh, you can play backwards games, you can use older accessories, but like the Wii U just right out of the gate, like I remember that launch being just a mess, right? Like I was not happy with it. I was happy with Nintendo Land, but like updating it day one and just moving everything over and trying to get things to work, like it was not this smooth.
It's time for my favorite sentence. Nintendo Land was a perfect reflection of what the Wii U became.
Oh no!
Wait,
Andre, what about you?
Wait, I need to dive into this a little bit more. Like, in what sense, though, do you mean?
So if you look at the overall experience of Nintendo Land, some were decent, some were very underbaked.
Yeah.
And that's how this Wii U kind of was.
Yeah,
like,
that's a good way.
Like the Nintendo Land was half good ideas, half
Yeah.
ideas that they thought were good, but didn't turn out to anything particular. And that's sort of what the Wii U turned out to be in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, the half that was good were the multiplayer ones. The half that weren't were the single player ones. For me, at least, I love the multiplayer ones, especially.
I mean, I love the Donkey Kong
people in
one
person
single
to play
player
with them. You couldn't play them online, which was crazy. It's like, oh, I want to play like Mario Chase or like the Luigi's Mansion ones. Like, no, I need people in person to play with.
5 people, ideally. Yeah, that's the thing. It's a lot of people to get around. Yeah. I know. I hope they bring that back online, you know, with Switch 2. Like, it'd be a blast, especially with game sharing now. Like, that's perfect for it, right? So,
yeah.
Anyways, as for me, I'd probably put it. I would have to really sit down and like figure out this list. I'd probably put it at the top of the middle of the pack. I think for launches overall. You know, like I think there is something to be said about how smooth of a transition it really is. On the other hand, like it's so smooth, and so you know it doesn't feel like all that much has changed. You know, it feels like I'm just playing a really refined Switch 1, which, you know, was kind of the goal they're going for. But it doesn't have that same excitement for me that other Nintendo console launches have had, which, you know, did kind of pull it back a little bit for me. But, you know, I am having a complete blast with Mario Kart World. We have a whole separate video for that, so... and yeah, that actually has ended up being an amazing launch title. So I'm so glad that was there for it, and avoided the Wii U problem of not being, you know, anything good at launch. Yeah,
I think the majority thing to note is that we kind of need to know how the rest of the year is going to look like, and hopefully we know that soon.
Yeah,
because
in
terms of long-term vision, we don't know anything beyond August.
We know more about the Switch 1's long-term vision than we do Switch 2 at this point, because there's still games with Switch 1 coming out next year. We know nothing about Switch 2, so yeah. Yeah. Also, I just want to highlight again just how elegant the Switch 2 feels with this. Yes. Like, honestly, this feels so much... This is like the biggest upgrade. It is amazing. Yeah, it's so nice. Like, on Switch 1, like, it always felt a little rickety. You know, even from day one with those Joy-Con rails. It only got worse over time. Like, one of my Joy-Cons won't even stay on the Switch 1 anymore. So... Yeah, the Pro Controller, yeah. Oh, we didn't touch on... How do you guys like the kickstand, by the way?
I liked it better than what I expected. Yeah, I was a little shaky with it at first, like just seeing it like from the previews and everything. But like throwing it on my desk not too long ago, I'm like, wow, this actually doesn't feel like too flimsy as like obviously as bad as the first Switch one. But yeah, no, I'm comfortable with it.
I think the angles on that thing are so good.
Yeah,
the angles are insanely good.
And with how freaking big the screen is now, like it seems like it'd be great for multiplayer too now locally. Just sitting up on a table and yeah, it's awesome. So, anyways, yeah, I have to say, like honestly, it's been for me like the more I use the Switch 2, the more I'm like it's growing on me. The more I'm liking it, the more I'm appreciating what it is.
For sure.
So, and like I said, I haven't even had a great opportunity to use a handheld mode, partially because I played dock primarily, as I said, but I am more open to it now with just how nice everything is, otherwise for it. So there you go, everyone. That's our thoughts on the Nintendo Switch 2 so far after roughly a week or so playing it. It'll be fun to see how it changes over time, as Don was saying, once we have a better idea what's coming down the pipeline in the future.
Yeah.
But for right now, it's a really promising start. Early word is that the sales have been extremely good so far. We'll see if that holds up, though, but it seems like, people are by and large happy with it, at least those who own it, outside of maybe the battery life issue, which seems to be the biggest hang-up right now, which I imagine will be, enhanced in a Switch revision down the line, Switch 2 revision, but that's still probably a couple years away, and of course doesn't help those with the Switch 2 right now. So here's hoping Nintendo adds like a low power mode to alleviate that to some degree. But otherwise, that's it. Let us know in the chat, in the comments, what you thought of this, of our thoughts and your own thoughts on the Switch 2 in general. Are you happy with it? Is there something they can do better? Do you have some complaints we didn't mention, or positives we didn't mention? Let us know in the comments. With everyone, thanks for watching. Click subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you later.